For the last 8 years under George W. Bush, we watched as every imaginable hate group could possibly come together in the name of denigrating a wartime president. Newsweek and Time magazine would treat these organizations as if they were these blissful, wonderful organizations. And look how exciting it is that the college students are amassing. They would even allow for concepts like that the Republican Party was trying to create a draft in 2004. And MTV perpetuated that falsehood in order to scare the young students. And right now they brag about how there's a young student movement. How do you get a student movement? You get them because the left has gotten them from K through 12. They blissfully take our tax money as we take our children out of those schools because they're going to turn you at best into an activist acorn automaton. That's the best thing that these people can provide, is to take a kid who doesn't know anything about the Constitution but is angry at you for waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning and listening to talk radio as you pay for their silly behavior. And I don't even know, I don't count high enough to tell you how much money this government paid to an activist group that's corrupt up to its teeth in Acorn in order to organize events, in order to get people who are drunk on the side of the road, who are victims of the social programs that are supposed to be done so that people aren't flat and think, hey, why don't you come in our van? I'll get you to vote 1, 2, 3, 4 times. The media is perpetuating the myth that we aren't allowed to protest. Before I came here, I met with Pat Cadell, who was the Democratic pollster under Jimmy Carter, and I told him that we were coming here, and we talked about how the mainstream media is propagating this falsehood, this slander on the American public that we somehow don't have a right to protest. 2 weeks after they get into office, when Dissent is Patriotic bumper stickers are still in my nightmare, that they can protest anything they want, and we can't come out here as Americans and listen to God Bless America. That is your CNN, baby. That's your UC Berkeley. And for 40 years, we allowed for these people to dominate our lives, and we said, just let us listen to our talk radio, we'll pay for the taxes. Well, they pushed too hard, because the first thing that these punks did when they got into office was to isolate us for execution. They went after Rush Limbaugh and called him a racist. They went after Rick Santelli for daring to say that people are outraged out there. What is that? That's not America. That's why Black Gary is good at creating a chanting atmosphere. I don't have any slogans here, but I want to tell you a few things that I have here. Nancy Pelosi said this about this group. I'm a C student, so I don't know what I'm about to tell you, because I think in psychology they call it projection. Nancy Pelosi, this initiative is funded by the high end. We call it AstroTurf. It's not really a grassroots movement, it's AstroTurf by some of the wealthiest people in America to keep focus on tax cuts for the rich instead of the great middle class. CNN, if you are here, take a look at this audience. Find 5 samples in this audience, and let's find out how many millionaires we have in our midst. This is the great middle class of America that is denigrated. And it was an internal issue that perhaps we could have worked out amongst ourselves. But when the sitting president of the United States goes over to foreign countries and starts to attack us, and to say that we're the people who cause the problems in the world, we've got a serious issue on our hands. And it isn't because of Nancy Pelosi, it isn't because of Harry Reid. These are the weakest sisters you could possibly put into political power. The reason why the Democratic Party allows for these people to exist who are weak, who can't communicate, who can't lead, and have 8% approval rating, who could those people be that are that 8% that respect them? The reason why they are allowed to be is because the Democratic Party is not those elected officials that you see on television like Charles Rangel. The Democratic Party is the Democratic Media Industrial Complex. They are the ones who dictate what happens in the world. And the last thing I'm going to tell you right now, this is why I started Big Hollywood and why I'm pissed off. For the last 40 years, Hollywood was our greatest product. For the last 100 years, close to 100 years, Hollywood has been America's great product. It's the DNA of who we are, and it's why immigrants come to this country. In our movies, the movies told of the best of who we are as people, that we were survivors, that we came from other places and could transcend class systems that existed in other systems. People came here and economic Marxism didn't take hold in this country like it did around the rest of the world, because in this country we knew if we worked hard we could rise up the chain, unlike other nations. And Hollywood reflected that. There were patriotic Americans in this country who made movies. 40 years ago there was a coup d'etat in this town, and the hard left, if you think that they took over Brown University and Berkeley, you should see what they've done to Hollywood. That's why Gary Graham, I wanted you to meet Gary Graham. He was on Nation. He's been on he's everything. If he takes his glasses off, he's very Hollywood. You'll recognize the guy. For the last 40 years, if you felt like you do against the left, against the oppressiveness, against the taxation on a set, and you're usually below the line, and that means that you're not getting Tom Cruise money, you probably live out in Simi Valley and have a 2-hour ride to get there. You learn to shut your mouth, because where the left exists, totalitarian resides. And these people cannot stand when you disagree with them. Wherever the left exists, you can't have a debate. They'll shout you down. It's over. It's over, guys. We're on with you. We're going to take you down, media. You are the best. That have behind the scenes said, you know what, enough is enough is enough. I love this country. I think this country is great. It's provided me the opportunity to be in film and television, and I used to just bite my lip. I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of people, and that's why Big Hollywood was started, because we need to start defending those like John Voight. When John Voight wrote an article in the Washington Times that he supported John McCain. Well, Peter Bart wasn't too happy about that, the editor of Variety, the establishment media organ of Hollywood. And he pretty much said to him, I always knew that guy was dumb. And Jeffrey Wells, a Hollywood columnist, said, if I were choosing between two older fellas on a movie, I would opt for the other guy, knowing how this guy feels. That's the McCarthyism that they warn about 24/7. Where was the mainstream media to protect this man? Where was the mainstream media to protect the late Ron Silver, a great American patriot? And where did the Democrats for crying out loud when they stood up for our soldiers? The Hollywood celebrity class walked away from him as he was dying of cancer on the red carpet. He told that to me personally. When Michael Crichton died, it didn't even get a footnote, because he turned to the other side before he died. This is how the media behaves. They play for keeps. They've created a civil war in this country, and they've taught their side how to fight, and how to fight to win. But we are awake now, and you are on notice, mainstream media. We know